want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Got a pretty exciting lineup for you. Tom Bush of Empowered AI here to share a little bit of AI. And I'll hand it over to you.
We're going to talk AI, and I'm going to talk about leadership. If you're a leader, don't make somebody ask you a second time. When somebody says, raise your hand as high as you possibly can, the leader knows that I'm going to stand up and I'm going to get on my tippy toes and I'm going to stretch as high as I can because I understand what I'm supposed to do, and I'm going to show by example how I'm going to help others do the same, right? So today we're targeting that. We're talking about AI. It's a very fun topic. So we're going to start with why. You got to start with why. Why is it important to you? Why are you here? Why are you trying to achieve something? AI gives us an opportunity to really accelerate the what, the how. But the why is still you. The why is inside of you. All right, let's dive in. Do you think AI can read that word, why? Yeah, good question. Proof. Yes, it can. On your Google app that you may or may not have on your phone, if you were to click on the little camera icon, it will actually take a look through a camera and it'll see what's there. You can see that on that app, it highlighted the word why, and down by the logo, you can see it has read, indeed, the word why from that image. This is literally me at my desk. I have a nice two-screen setup. All right. We talk about AI. A lot of people think about these tools. Gemini from Google. We got ChatGPT, probably the most popular, talked about. Claude AI, which actually is winning right now, but less talked about. Copilot by Microsoft, which is built into all your Microsoft work, which is great. Grok from X, from our friend Elon Musk. And Pi.ai. Pi.ai is one of my favorites because it's free, but also it is a bot trained to be empathetic. So even though you could ask it for, what happened to XYZ, it'll tell it to you in a very nice way. It's trained to be empathetic. So it's an interesting little experiment. But there is more to AI than chat. So while we'll talk first about this little chat, and we're kind of looking externally, the long language model is what has brought AI to the forefront. So long language model, when you're talking to ChatGPT, it's called an LLM, long language model. This is as technical as we're going to get tonight, so it's not going to be deep. What that means, though, is that it has consumed a bunch of data. We write the code that tells it how to go consume the internet. But we don't necessarily tell it how to organize its brain. So one of the things people are worried about on AI is that we actually don't know what associations it has made, which is interesting. But it's really good at predicting what's the next best word. Now, it's interesting because we'll start to personify these AIs, but in the end, all it's doing is predicting what's the next best word given the context I understand so far. And ChatGPT came out with, the people who subscribed to it went through the roof. It's the fastest adopted tool ever. The reason it was so popular was because until that moment, this ability to have a human language chat with a machine learning model was not possible. And specifically, the fact that they gave it context. So when I asked it the next thing, it still knew what I was talking about, the thing I had just been talking about. So that context, that's what has unlocked this firestorm of use. These models, like these, have been around for a long time. It's not new. It's been around for tens of years. But the ability to interact with it with human language is the newest thing, and that's what's been so exciting. But you can see, I asked the LLM, please draw for me what your brain looks like. And this is its rendering of its own brain. And so you can see it effectively has drawn what looks like a bunch of vectors. And it's the associations that it's made and how it navigates. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's important to just keep in mind as we go through this. So if you haven't touched ChatGPT before, I want to give you this example. How many of you on social media have seen a problem like this? What's it called? Thank you. You went to the same school I probably went to, and are the same age I am, because I call it order of operations, but as we'll find out, some other people call it PEMDAS. So a friend of mine from high school named Matt posted this on Facebook, and his statement on it was, "Hey guys, I don't know how to get to 17. Could someone please help me?" And I got it first. I was first one to see it. And I thought, I was pretty sure I was in Mr. Novak's class in high school with Matt. And so I replied very quickly, "Hey, shout out to Mr. Novak. You would have been in class with me when we learned that this is how the math works, right?" But Matt's a bit of a trickster, so I thought to myself, is there an unseen joke here? Maybe I missed a joke. And now I'm totally outed myself as a nerd because I just told him how to do it, and there's actually a joke. So I pasted it into ChatGPT. And you're going to see that I said, "Explain this." And I pasted an image. So ChatGPT is able to both read the image. See, it said Mike the Outsider, who was the person who posted it, that here is the problem. It read the math right off the screen. And all I said was explain this and pasted an image. So that's one, if you haven't touched it, that's really cool, right? Now I start feeling better at this point because it called it order of operations right there. And this is almost word for word what I typed. So I'm like, yes, I'm a genius. So then I said, well, since it wasn't a joke, let's make it a joke. What's the hardest order of operations problem you can think of, ChatGPT? And it says, oh yes, this would be a fun thing. Let's create a very difficult one. So it says, here is the math problem. Would you like to know what the answer is? And I'm like, yes, please. So it says, okay, I'll calculate that for you. And you see this little blue thing here. This is the ChatGPT actually writing a little bit of code to do some real math, which is great. I love seeing it because LLMs can't do math, and we're about to see it. So it says, your answer was 5.11. I was like, well, but for it to be a joke, it has to have the same answer. So we need something that goes 17. It says, I intended to make it be 17, but I screwed up. Let me try again. Here's another one. And it says, I'll now calculate this. You see it do some blue. And it says, oops, I screwed up again. So then again, it says, it seems there was an issue. Let me try again. So it tries another problem, which it doesn't expose to me now because it's shy, right? It's like, I don't want you to see my work anymore. I'm going to calculate it. It says, oops, I made another problem. I got something that equaled 4.9, not 17. Let me try again. It writes another problem. And again, it says, my attempt resulted in 23, not 17. Let me try again. And then it blah, 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 blah. It says, I got to 19. I will try once more. And then I said, go ahead and stop. Now, why did I say stop? Where are my mathematicians? Why did I say stop? Zach. Exactly. You're at 19, subtract 2, you got 17. I was like, okay, let me help you out. Lol, I say to ChatGPT, just show me the one that you got 19 from, and let's add -2. Now, that's a weird part. I said it weird. But we're going to see here, number one, maybe not good laughing in the face of your future overlord, right? Like, this is bad choice here. So I don't recommend lol, especially when you're correcting the AI. It says, okay, you're correct. After subtracting 2 from 19, we indeed arrive at 17 together. Interesting, right? So I'm like, cool, why don't you draw that out for me, right? So I can see the joke that all of this text happened to be about. And boom, it gives me this. I think it was being a little bit facetious and just trying to make me look bad because I laughed at it. And it's like, here, try this on for size. Indeed, I don't know. I went to I went through Calc 4, so I'm very familiar with mathematics. I don't think that resolves to 17. And in this case, what it did is it went to its other model. So I showed you whenever it did the blue thing, it was doing math with Python. In this case, I said draw, which caused it to go, oh, I have this utility called Dolly, which is an AI image writer. I'm going to describe what you asked me to have to Dolly, and it's going to generate an image. So that's not mathematical. It's just a guess from Dolly of what a hard math problem would look like. All right. Does anybody want to wager a guess? Because I know a lot of people probably know about AI, of why we were having difficulty here. And this is a critical learning I want you guys to walk away with just at this leadership level as you think about AI. I'm giving you critical thinking skills right now. Why do you think this struggled? If you recall how we started our conversation, it predicts what's the next best word. And in this case, it's predicting what's the next best mathematical symbol that looks complicated. And it's not able to actually see the end of its problem. So it's going along and saying, hey, if we're going to do a complex math problem, we're going to put a parenthesis. We know parenthesis probably starts a hard problem. The next thing that seems smart is I'll do a 9 and then I'll do a square. That sounds good too, right? And it's predicting what's the next best answer. But in this way, we learned a few things. One, a hallucination occurred. You remember it said, oh, I intended that. If we back that up, you would see I intended that to be 17. So had I asked to give me, which I did, maybe not as clearly as I could have, but had I said, give me a complex one that equals 17, it would have guessed and stopped. And then if I turned away without using my critical thinking and said, here's a hard problem that equals 17, guess what? I would be wrong because it was wrong. It hallucinates. That's what a hallucination looks like. It was predicting along the way, but it's not true. So here we are. We've got a math problem that looks hard, but it doesn't equal 17. Now here's the reason it's important. The LLM is predicting what's the next best looking number. The blue thing is doing real math and saying, no, that's not it. If you were to ask, one of my favorite ones that proves this even further, if you say to ChatGPT, tell me how many words are in your response, it will be wrong almost 100% of the time. Because it's guessing at what its response is, and so it's just writing a sentence. And it's going to say the number of words in my response is 12. But it's just a guess, because it can't actually count along the way. It's just predicting what's the next best word. It's not doing math along the way. It's not actually thinking yet. Give it time. All right, so that's one learning that you've walked away with, is this thing can hallucinate, and you don't want to trust it for math. So AI can accelerate you. I got that PEMDAS answer. It was correct. I got the steps on how to do PEMDAS. Correct. But I verified it with my own brain. But it was faster probably than I typed it. So now I'm just reviewing the work rather than typing the work. Augmented is where it's at. Human in the loop today. And so I'm not promising next week. But today, human in the loop is where you want to be. So if you're implementing AI at your work, specifically Gen AI, you want to have a rule that says a human shall be in the loop. Third, LLMs are not compute engines, but they have compute engines. So we saw that the LLM was doing what looked like math, but it was relying on a compute engine, in this case a Python code, to do the real math. So that may not be accurate or the fastest path. As you saw, it was erroring out. The fastest path would have been for me to just say when it got 23, I could have said, oh, we want 17, why don't you subtract, whatever that math is. I expose myself. All right, hallucinations are a problem, so always verify your results. And then also, if you work inside a company, make sure you follow your company's AI policies. And if you own or run a company or are making decisions about AI, you should get an AI policy if you don't have one. It helps both to accelerate your employees because they now know the parameters and permissions that they have to execute, but it also protects your company from maybe some things you don't want them doing. If you need help with that, my company, ActualReality Technologies, can do a consulting session with you guys to build a policy. All right. Last thing I want to talk about ChatGPT is prompt engineering. So some people have told me, I tried ChatGPT, but it wasn't very good. It didn't give me a very good answer. There are techniques, and as I told you, we don't know how it organized its brain. So these techniques that you see listed on this screen, and I'll walk through only one of them, these are us learning how to ask a question of this thing that we built. And yet we don't know programmatically how to get the best answer. These are techniques in which we've come up with. Our master's degrees and PhD students in college have been experimenting with these models to come up with these methods. I just want to give you the one that I use religiously. First one, role, task, format. Every time I talk to ChatGPT, well, except in the first example, I say act like an expert in whatever I'm about to do with it. So if I want to get some good marketing things, I'm going to say act like an expert in marketing and now give me something. Or act like a social media expert and give me some tweets about what's about to occur, right? Giving that just that little bit helps it, in my way of remembering it, is that I believe it orients itself to that spot in the brain where there's a bunch of associations about that topic. And so if you imagine, if you don't put it in there, it starts from ground, at point zero. And it has a time limit in which it can take to think, right? Because we don't want to wait forever. So it can only create those associations and words related to a certain distance from its starting point. By saying act like an expert in, it's moving itself for its first position in an area where there's a bunch of that stuff. So the chances that you grab something good in its as it's navigating its vector space is increased. So there you go. Number 2, we're on to 2 learnings, hopefully. All right, so important point as a leader who's thinking about AI for your use, for how you use it, how your company is going to use it, is to distinctly move apart 2 concepts. Gen AI, which is ChatGPT, and machine learning, what's typically called machine learning or data science. Gen AI, creating new things, creating things from, giving it an idea and having it improvise. Machine learning, mathematical, statistics, and actually able to tell you how correct it thinks it is. ChatGPT will lie to you because it's improvising. It doesn't know how correct it is. It can't tell you that I think this sentence is 98% correct, because all it did was predict the next best word along the way and didn't analyze the sentence at all. Machine learning can forecast and tell you, I think I'm 98% certain based on the data you've provided me. So when you're thinking about how to use machine learning, Gen AI, these are the things you want to be thinking about. So let's take a look at an example. I generated this image. Gen AI or machine learning? What do you think? Gen AI, correct. Funny part about this image. I went to BGSU to talk about the future of computer science, future of software development in the AI age. The future of software development in the AI age. What's interesting, if you read that, it looks like it says the future of slave development. The AI is telling us something. Then it says, look at the very last one. It says, I am the age of AI. That's a little freaky. But again, while we can personify it and look for things like this, in this case, it's just predicting what the next best pixel is. So it's not actually saying anything, but it's fun to think about. I had to ask the BGSU students, number 1, why is there a policeman in your class? Number 2, I show up in the classroom knowing this slide is in my deck, and what do I see sitting dead center in the first row but this young man right here? No lie. And I hired him. So his name's Gunnar, and I was shocked to know that this predicted that Gunnar was going to be sitting in the middle of this class as I showed up in BGSU. And there's some BGSU students who can vouch for this, I think, that were in that session. Now, it was scary because he was there in the middle. They brought pizza in. He got up to help with the pizza. So I had to go over to him and be like, hey, Gunnar, I really need you to sit right there. Get back in that seat so that this can be fun. All right, who knows what this is? Where's Waldo? Yeah. A guy went viral recently talking about this, what I'm about to share. Anybody seen it yet? Because I'm going to, okay, at least only one person's going to be bored with what I'm about to say. But this illustrates machine learning pretty good. So number 1, we're going to talk about ethics in a minute, but I want you to know these are not real Where's Waldo images. I would not do that because that would be copyright infringement. But I went to AI and said, right, make me an AI, make me an image of Where's Waldo. Now it's interesting that Waldo is large. Tells me that maybe the AI doesn't understand what the purpose of Where's Waldo is, which is interesting to think about. Then I said, give me an image on the right-hand side of Where's Waldo, the AI version. And so here we can see that Waldo suddenly gets connectivity. I don't know. All right, so where's Waldo? There was a guy, PhD student, his name was Randall S. Olson. And he went ahead and went through all 68, or however many Where's Waldo, the core Where's Waldo books. And he plotted on a map everywhere where Waldo showed up. 68 points. Then old school data statistics. we can use this. Anybody know what this is called? I mean, it says kernel density, but what else would we call it? Heat map, exactly. So that's old school. Heat maps have been around since, forever, right? So this is a heat map. Now, if we wanted to create a strategy of how to find Waldo the fastest, this is a problem that statistics can't do for us. I hope that's normal. So he used what's called a genetic algorithm to basically create a pattern. Now, had he tried to do this the old school way, you would have taken all 68 of those points. To find the shortest path through all 68 of those points, programmatically, you would have had to align all 68 of those points and the distances between them, and then sort them again and do it again, and sort them again and do it again. And there are 10 to the 73 combinations that you would have to search through to see which one is the shortest. But with machine learning, we can shortcut that to a pretty good. So this isn't the best, but it's pretty good. And so basically it says if you start here and then you have your eyes jump over here and then you go up there and then you go over there, then you should, the least probabilistic spot is over here. The most probabilistic of where he would be is over in this region. So that's machine learning allows us to do this kind of work, which is a type of AI, but it's one that helps you with forecasting, predicting, along the lines. Here's another example. So we've talked with Imagination Station and we've talked with Cherry Street. For a machine learning example, we asked the Imagination Station, do they know how long students stay at it's a science museum locally, do they know how long a student dwells and interacts with a certain thing? And they said no. And so we suggested to them that we could do machine learning on the security cameras to basically see when a human is in the frame, and we could time how long that human stays at a given station, giving them insights with hardware that they already have. Now, Gen AI, we are working with Cherry Street. They have a long training program where they have to train all the people they work with, and their training program is, I don't know, let's say it's like 8 months, and their average retention is about 24 months. And so they lose a large portion of the time that they have a worker in training. And so we suggested to them that we could upload all the policies and do more of a just-in-time type awareness. So instead of having to train on a policy that they may never encounter because the situation doesn't happen, we can actually give them a chat bot. So when it does occur, they can just chat with it and say, hey, how does this work? And it could source that information and get it to them. But when the chatbot is talking, it's improvising. It's saying, hey, I know some things because I have the policy doc, but then it's translating it and telling it to an individual in a certain style that you've asked it to do so. All right, Perplexity. Here's a giveaway. Anybody, how many people have used Perplexity? All right, this is your new best friend. So Perplexity.ai is better than Google. Here's why. Google, you say, hey, I'd like to research the Toledo Tech Loft. And it will say, here are links I have found that reference the Toledo Tech Loft, right? However, you have to go visit every single one of those links to understand what's behind the link, right? Perplexity actually goes in and reads every website, summarizes it back to you, and says, here's what I understood. So here you can see I looked up, where's the coolest and best co-working space in Toledo, Ohio? And you can't quite see this, but it says, undoubtedly, in the first sentence, right here, I want to show you. Undoubtedly, Toledo Tech Loft is the coolest and best co-working space. There you go. Now, what's cool about it is it tells you what websites did it go to. So if you do want to research it and look at the website, you can go there. But also the part that I enjoy is that it gives you these little superscripts that tell you if you want to understand this sentence more, here's where I got that information. There you go. I'm not going to tell you how I got it to say that, so I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. But there may be a trick there. Yeah. All right. So we're going to switch topics. What I'd like you to do, real quick, we're going to start focusing inward on how you do it with your team, how you start implementing it at work. So we've been talking kind of globally what's out there. But it's weird. Change is weird. We get very comfortable. So we have to know every time we talk about AI, every time we're trying to introduce some new tool to our friends at work, they're going to be uncomfortable. They're going to be defensive. Put yourself in their shoes, and then you got to think about, okay, how do I slow down? How do I make sure they understand what's in it for them? How do I understand what their why is? And then help them show them how this tool helps them achieve their why faster, better. Okay? So let's move into it. The first question I always get when I do this at a corporation is AI going to take my job? What do you guys think? AI taking jobs? Not with human in the loop. Not with human in the loop? Yeah. There you go. That's the one that I resonate a lot with is while AI is not taking your job, someone who knows how to use it really well might. Or the job that you're currently doing today is not the job you're going to be doing tomorrow. So you didn't lose your job, but the tasks, the way you're doing it, that's going to be different, almost guaranteed. So you can't be stuck in the mud. And so I want you guys to be thinking about the fact that it is kind of imperative as a leader to try to help your peers and your subordinates move. Because if they stay, the person who can use AI will replace them. So they need to be moving in this direction. And some people say, oh, it's going away. This is the number of documents, published academic papers about AI coming out. What is that curve called? An exponential curve, exactly. Now, it's hard to visualize what exponential actually means. But if I were to take 30 steps in that direction, you could say, oh, he will go from here to basically maybe that door, maybe just slightly further. If I were to take 30 exponential steps, how far would I go? Next county, next state, next country? No, I would be at the moon, 200,000 miles. That's 30 exponential steps. So exponential is a big deal. So for the fact that we're having this much being written, and basically it means that there are, this is showing us that it is a big topic, that academia is researching it, so there are going to be discoveries, there are going to be disruptions, there are going to be a lot of things coming at us at a very quick clip. How quick? By 2050, if we follow this trajectory, you're going to see 100 years of today's progress. So as fast as things are changing. Now let me tell you, in January, AI barely knew how to make a picture where the person didn't have 6 or 10 fingers, right? 6 fingers on one hand. Now we're at a spot where AI can create a physics real video, right? Where everything is correct and it looks great and it's being used in, movies that are going to be coming out. So that's 6 months of progress. And we're saying 100 years of progress every 5 years in 2050 of today's progress. So you think about how fast things are moving today, 100 years of that, and in 5 years' time, when we hit 2050, man, things are going to be changing. So we have to get really comfortable with change. As leaders, we have to be helping our people change. AI is definitely changing what we're doing, and it's coming. So how are you going to see it show up? I like some guy on YouTube, and that's one of my secrets. I watch YouTube, right? If I'm to keep up to date on what's going on, I found 4 or 5 guys or gals that I watch regularly. Fortunately, YouTube has an algorithm, so it pops up when they post something new, and I watch it. And that's what keeps me up to date on AI. So now I just gave you keys to my kingdom. Use it. But there was a guy that came on, and unfortunately I don't remember his name, but he said, chat is like the DOS prompt of the 80s. When Windows came out, why was Windows better? Well, because I didn't have to type all those words. I just clicked and it did what I wanted. I wanted Windows to open. I just clicked on the Windows. I wanted Word to open. I clicked on Word. It opens, right? Windows disrupted the chat, the DOS prompt. Chat is similar. What we want is the task to be done, right? We want the process to be repeatable, automatable. We don't want to have to ask the bot to do it. You see what I'm saying? So if I have to ask, what are the sales reports for last month and the month prior and the prior month? Wouldn't it be better if you had a dashboard where that was automatically there, right? So chat is not the end all be all. So that's one thing I want you to think about as you strategize. So you're going to see it show up AI in 3 different ways. This is my model. I built it with AI. I said I need something that's, an alliteration. So chatbots, we call those assist. So it's going to assist you. It's going to be able to retrieve data. It's going to be able to draft paragraphs. You can ask it, what's the latest metric? What's the latest sales numbers? What was our Q2 numbers? That's chat, and that's the assist category. Under automate, we're going to see AI. It's going to draft whole docs. So you don't draft a whole doc today with ChatGPT per se, because it has a word output limit. But with automation, you can create whole docs. You can do a repeated schedule. I can say, always do this on this day. You can say, consolidate, reconcile. And there's this really cool thing that's been around for probably 5 years, 10 years at this point, robotic process automation. So robotic process automation is when you don't want to write software to do it, but you need to download a file from a web, you need to manipulate it in Excel, and then you upload it to a different website. There's tools out there that allow you to do that and just say go, and it'll do that. That's called robotic process automation. And then there's analyze, and this is machine learning. This is where AI can help recommend things. It can do variance analysis. It can do forecasting and prediction. So the reason I put this together was because I wanted people to know it's not just chat. And in fact, we should be dissatisfied with chat because I just want it to show up when I think that I need it. When I know I need it, it should just show up, right? And I don't want to have to ask every time. So that's a mental model I'd like you guys to think about. Now, AI in business, here's some examples. Hopefully you got a chance to read these because I'm not going to cover them. So over the next few slides, I want to raise your level of discontentment. This is my intention. I want you to become very discontented that AI is not already at your business, that AI is not already being used by your employees, or that your employees are misusing the AI. So just be aware. The next 3 slides, heavily discontented. Ready? Exactly. So I invented this. This is my little automation spectrum to make people discontented. And here's what it says. A lot of our processes still today are manual. And anytime you see a piece of paper, you should be really discontented. But even when you see digital files or spreadsheets in use as an operational process, you should be discontented. Maybe you say, well, what if I interconnected? I've got this spreadsheet that I send around to everybody, they fill it in, I bring it back, I have to condense all of these spreadsheets into one. What if you created me a website where I can send that website out and they'll all enter it in and it'll all get consolidated in a database? Isn't that a win? No. I want you to be discontented with that because that's what I call digitizing a bad process. So I really want us to at least get past this first hurdle called optimizing the process, right? Because it's very possible that all of that input you're getting from the humans could be estimated by a model. And now I don't even have to ask the human. You follow what I'm saying? They had a spreadsheet. They said, hey, could you estimate this about your building? Can you estimate this about your building? Can you estimate this about your building? What if I just took all those estimates over the last 3 years, create a model that would basically create that estimate, and now I say, you don't need to be involved, you don't need to be involved, you don't need to be involved. So that's what process improvement will bring to the process. It'll help cut people out of the process who don't need to be there, and it makes you start thinking. All right, so we can at least get to automated. That's where if I know that this approval, as long as you stay under a certain threshold, I can auto-approve, that gets 80% of your process just flowing, right? All these approvals just go. And then just the 20% has to go to my boss, instead of my boss having to look at every single one, right? So that's the happy path approval process. Or validation, or machine learning to give me insights. What if I just look for anomalies, right? Anomaly detection, put it in, I can have the data flow, and I don't even care about it until my anomaly pings and says, hey, something's different, come look. And then you look at it, right? So management by exception, some people call that. So that's what I call automated. We're at least getting there. Now, you want to really make me happy? We're going to get quantitative about that process. Today you do some sort of estimate, or you have to approve this doc, right? And you just say, well, I've got a gut feel, and it's just my gut. Does that look reasonable or does it not look reasonable? Well, if I sit you down and say, okay, how do you inform your gut, right? What does that look like? Well, I look at the stock market. I look at some sort of macroeconomic thing. I look at this other thing. Well, cool. I can have an AI go look at that for you. And tell me, if it's going up, do you make a decision? If it's going down, do you make a decision? Cool. I can automate that because I can watch to see if it's going up. I can watch to see if it's going down, and I can have the machine just do all of that gut stuff you were just talking about. That's what I mean by getting quantitative. It's saying, hey, let's stop moving in this space where you just guess, or the space where it's not. Give me thresholds. Give me numbers, because I can automate the heck out of that. So I get into this autonomous space after I've quantitated that. So now I can do, I can monitor for a process versus doing the process. So I can have all of these approvals just moving because it's making the decisions that I told it. This is the framework. This is the decision process. These are the quantifiables of how that decision gets made. And now you never touch it again. And now you create a dashboard to see how many types of different process decisions were made, and you can watch it happen instead of having to actually be part of the process loop. Processes go way faster when that happens, right? 80% probably of your process delay is people, getting a notice, then having to open a doc, and then going home before they hit approve. They come back the next morning, they forget that they needed to approve it, right? You lose time. Time is money. So we want to be sampling versus looking at everything, and ideally, we take it so it's no longer part of the job. So that's autonomous. That's where we say you don't have to worry about it anymore. A lot of my work previously was related to finance. And when I showed up, finance is using Excel spreadsheets. They're passing Excel spreadsheets around, and I'm like, hey guys, I bet we can move all the way from spreadsheet to autonomous, and we can take that. You don't have to do that anymore because now a model predicts that. And we can prove that the model predicts it better than you would have, right? And so now you don't even have to be part of your job. You don't have to worry about this anymore. We centralize it. It takes care of itself. You out in the field, you don't have to worry about it. Autonomous. Now, next thing to be discontented about. And I got some employees here, so I have to be careful about this. Be discontented about your employees. When they come to you and say, hey, I need 2 weeks to do this thing, and you say, dude, go to ChatGPT, get it done in a second, right? We should start getting frustrated of the fact that people aren't using AI. And this is a complicated scenario because then you start to say, well, part of my life, I've been a product leader. And part of being a product leader is I'd write a user description. I would talk about a particular user, and I would describe who they are, and I would empathize with them, and I'd think through it. Now I can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to build a product like this. Describe my typical user. And it creates a name. It says, Tanya is a woman who has 3 kids, and here's what she thinks about every day, and it does a lot of that work for me. So I start to say, well, why am I here? Well, I can tell you, the job of the future is the person who knows how to use all of this AI and bring it together. Today, if you look at the current employees, we expect you to have the knowledge. We hire you because you have knowledge. We say, go to your desk, and you come up with all of that interesting things, and you would know how to do that math. You would know how to write this product definition. And we expect them not to look at YouTube. We expect them not to Google. We expect them to just bring it out, right? The user of the future, what I want them to be doing now, I want them to be using YouTube. If it's already been invented, don't reinvent it. Go fast. Like, speed is what business needs. So AI helps you go faster. Using YouTube helps you go faster. I want my employees to go fast. So no longer am I holding them to this torch of being deep, knowledgeable experts. I'm actually wanting them to be using external knowledge. I want them to have their heads up. I want them to be using AI. I want them to be thinking and seeing how they can do it cheaply, frugally, but still meet the customer's need and exceed our customer expectations. We expect them to be self-reliant, not reaching out to others, or at least keeping it within the team. No, I want them being augmented. I want them using. You would be shocked if you say, whatever your expertise field is, hey, ChatGPT, be an expert in what I'm an expert in, and tell me something that you don't think anybody else knows except you. And it will give you a dissertation on it. It knows, it has access to a bunch of knowledge, even very specific. I work with manufacturers all the time. They have these subject matter experts who are geniuses in their area, but I can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, act like an expert in this. And then I can go back to that SME and say, hey, did you know that this is going on? And they'll be like, whoa, I hadn't thought of that. And they think I'm smart. But I'm like, all you had to do was talk to ChatGPT about it. All right. So, yeah, so we should be starting to help our employees move and bridge this gap. I'll tell you one last point on this. It's not going to be easy. They're going to be uncomfortable. They're going to be asking, what's my value if AI is generating this? Well, your value is you can do more. Let's take it to the smallest example. And it gets back to why. So let's say here at the Tech Loft, we have a front desk, right? And I have an individual at that front desk. Why do I have an individual at the front desk? What do you think the most critical thing that they could do for the business to grow it would be? Yes. Greet the people. Bring them in. Be the face of the company. Make people feel included. Now, yeah, grow new members. Now, retain current members. Now, if they're doing the busy work, because today, we would have them doing the busy work. If they're doing the busy work all the time behind the desk, how effective are they at the biggest why we just talked about? Not very good, right? They're going to be, let's say it's probably 80-20. It would be 80% of busy work, 20% of trying to keep people here and make people feel included. Now, if I can automate, get them to autonomous, stuff's just happening. They don't have to do that anymore. We just flip the script, right? Now they're 80% doing the biggest why of what I actually want them to be doing, and 20% of their job is the stuff they used to do. That's what I'm talking about. And you can go all the way up, every job. You can talk about what are they actually doing today, but why, if I could free them of that, what would I actually be wanting them to do? What's that real why I want them here? I want you talking to customers and inventing new products that I can sell to that customer to get them excited. And if I can get you to talk to 50 customers instead of your normal 10, that's a huge win. I didn't unemploy you, I maximized you. That's the big win here. And that's when we can move them to this future state. Your employees are going to be way more productive. And you should give them that feeling that, the job security is still there, guys. You're just going to be helping us grow, expand. A lot of the people who think the jobs are being eliminated, think about a business that's within a box and that it wouldn't expand. They're not thinking about, well, if I can do more, I'm going to grow bigger. They think, oh, it's always going to be this way, and so if that can happen faster, they don't need me. And I don't know any businesses like that. If you can do more, I'm going to ask you to do more. And you're going to do more, and you're going to be happy doing more because it's more related to your why as well. It's the actual good part of the job, not the busy work junk that you don't want to do. So, all right. We're coming to the end here, guys. So a few more minutes. Ethics. We have to talk about ethics. You saw me already show something that is on the borderline. We haven't figured out the ethics of all this. The fact that I showed you an image that looked very similar to Where's Waldo, that's on the borderline, guys. Now, I made a choice. I said, I'm going to prove a point that you can do it. And today, there's nothing illegal about that. But you may choose, because of your ethics and your decision, that you don't like that. And that's fine. Today, there's not hard rules. I would always go back to my ethics class from my MBA. It's the New York Times test. If the New York Times were to publish the fact that you did that, are you uncomfortable with that, or are you cool with that? And today, I'm pretty cool with that because I know that that's a capability. Everybody's familiar with that capability. And it's a reality of today. So in the ethics and compliance, number one, I start off with that policy because that policy should be dictating your company's culture about some of these decisions. So we do not put our customers' personal data, that's what PII on the right-hand side, we do not put our customers' personal data into the AI. Like that should be number one on your AI policy, if that's core to your belief, and it is core to mine, so I would say that's a requirement. But those policies both allow me to know what I can do and what I should not be doing. Don't propagate bias. I've had a very interesting conversations with people about, is this model more liberal? Is this model more conservative? Yada, yada, yada. My general answer to that is, that model is telling you the answer. You do not have to go share that with anybody. You can filter that bias. So what if it's biased? You are critically thinking. You're going to think, is this real? Does this align with my beliefs? And you don't have to post it on the internet. You can actually stop the forest fire before it begins. So I put that responsibility on you guys in that case. Be aware of copyright and fair use. I will tell you, I went to Google and I said, give me a Where's Waldo image. I got all these images. But the next thing I did on Google, there's actually this tools button where you can say, give me a hit tools, and I went to fair use, not copyrighted material, and all of the Where's Waldo went away. And I was like, okay, it's copyrighted. That's a very clear message to me that Where's Waldo's copyrighted. I'm not going to copy, because I could have copied any of those images and put them up on my PowerPoint, but that's not correct. So you guys should be up on copyright. You want to be thinking about fair use. You want to be thinking, is it fair of me to do this? And what are the ramifications? But also, ethically, where does it fall? Now, my hint here is take everything, give it nothing. I'll give you here's one to take home. Give it nothing, take everything. Now, if you have an Excel spreadsheet, let's say we have an Excel spreadsheet filled with all kinds of customer data or proprietary data or very secret data, right? You could take that spreadsheet, top it into ChatGPT and say, tell me the statistics of X, Y, and Z. And it will do that. But maybe that's not the best idea, especially if you're not paying for it. If you're not paying for it, it is absolutely using that data in future training. They tell you that straight up. So number one, be paying for it. But number two, if you're not paying for it, here's how you give it nothing and still get everything. You can describe what the spreadsheet looks like. I have these columns in my spreadsheet that have this kind of data. Could you write the VBA script that will give me X, Y, and Z analysis? And for those who don't know, VBA script stands for Visual Basic Application, which basically is a way to script Excel to do certain things. And it will dump out the Excel. It doesn't know, it has never seen your data. It will dump out that VBA script. You take that VBA script, you open the macros in Excel, you paste it, boom. You got the same result. You get your analytic, you get your fast work, but you gave nothing to that AI. You took everything, which was that really cool VBA script it just did, and it did not receive any secret information. So that's what I mean by give it nothing, take everything. You want a framework for a new way of thinking about the bots, like the 3 A's? You say, give me a framework for this. Don't give it any of your ideas and see what it comes up with. And if you don't like what it came up with, you say, give me 10 more, and it'll give you 10 more. That's all generative information that it's creating for you, but you didn't tell it hardly anything. So that's my hint. Now, when you're picking the tool, make sure, like I said, I presented you a few different ones. You can make those choices. You can make sure that the privacy and security that you want to uphold for your customers, which I would say, security is job zero. You got to be thinking about it all the time. Make sure the tool you use is secured in the way that it has to be to protect your customers. All right, I think this is the last cultural conversation. Smart, not sneaky. I'm writing a book called this, so don't steal it yet. I also came up with this alliteration on a drive with ChatGPT, so thank you, ChatGPT. I used to say, there's no cheating in business, which came from a conversation with a professor who was teaching people how to be good business people, and I was going to teach them how to do AI, and they said, hey, I want them to know how to actually do whatever that was. And I said, yeah, but if AI can do it, they can do it so much faster. It doesn't matter. It's not cheating. Yes, you're teaching a class. You think it's cheating because they're doing it in your class. But once they get into the real world, there's no cheating in business. Like, go fast, get it done. That's the way to go. But there is cheating in business. There's fraud, yada, yada. So I had to have a conversation with ChatGPT saying, hey, cheating in business, yeah, give me a different way to say it. So smart, not sneaky. You, as the leader, have to start demonstrating. This is how I use ChatGPT. This is how I use the approved policy tool, whatever it is. This is how I am doing my work so that everybody can see it. You have to expose yourself. Because I guarantee you there are people on your team right now who are using it, but they're keeping it a secret. And it's great that they have the productivity, but because they're keeping it a secret, their peers and your other employees aren't benefiting from knowing that they could use that AI to do that thing. So they're still going slow. And you don't want that. You want everybody going fast. So smart, not sneaky. Using AI is smart. It's not sneaky. And it's a hard cultural change. And so hopefully by the end of October, you'll be able to buy my book called Smart, Not Sneaky. Early plug. I should put it on Amazon for early buy. Thanks, guys.